Hello everybody, welcome back to our HTML beginners course. In this video tutorial we are going to build on our opening header section for our website and explore the head element in more detail. Okay, let's begin. First, let's get rid of the multiple headings we created at the end of the last tutorial video, as we don't need those for our page. As we discussed in the previous tutorial, our head element will contain all of the things we want for our page that isn't the content we will be displaying for our visitors within the actual web page. The head element will include links to our CSS, which we will use in our next course to make the page a lot more pretty to look at, what language the page is written in, our title, our description, and much more. Remember, anything you write within the head element is not expected to appear on the web page for viewers. All the content for the website user will be in our body. Let's not blow our minds too soon with what we can put in the head element though. We will need to start with the basics. Let's start with adding a title element. If we head over to the browser to look at our web page, we can see that in the browser tab our page is called index.html. This is what our page file is called, but we can change this to whatever we want by using the title element. Back to our code editor then, and the title tags are what we need to use here. You can see that these follow the same opening and closing tag format that we learned in the previous tutorial. We will put our title inside the tags now. Note, our title is not the same thing as our page heading in the body. Whilst they could be the same text, what we put in our title tag will not appear on the page like the heading did. What it will do is produce a title for our page in the tab of our browser. If we go to the browser and hit refresh, we can see that our title has now appeared in the tab at the top. The title is also used when a user bookmarks the page. If we go and bookmark the page, we can see our title appearing. The title will also be used by search engines in the search results. If we take a look at this search in Google for YouTube, we can see the title here. The title can have a bearing on where your web page appears in the search results. This field of knowledge is called Search Engine Optimization, or SEO for short. We'll explore SEO in another course. The text underneath the title is usually the description for the page, but in reality Google can and does choose different content to display here depending on what the search term was. For this simple search though, Google has shown the description for the YouTube page. Let's write a description for our page next. To do this, we will need to add our first meta element. Whilst the title is considered metadata, HTML also has an official meta tag that is used for all sorts of other metadata. Let's add our description meta tag so we can see what we mean with an example. We will add a meta tag and inside we will give it a name attribute and a content attribute. Most meta tags follow this format. The name attribute specifies the type of meta element that it is. The content attribute then contains the information. There are lots of preset meta names and description is one of them. Don't worry, after building a few web pages you'll start to memorize the most common ones and the rest can be easily looked up. The content of our description for my pizza sauce recipe will read like this. HTML5 beginners course creating a pizza sauce recipe web page. Notice how the tag doesn't follow our other tags in having an opening and closing tag. Certain tags are self-closing and they do not need to be closed. As we will never add content outside of the attributes, we do not need to worry about closing it, as it will never wrap text content to form an element. These are also known as empty elements or void elements. Now, as we discussed, if this web page was to be found in Google, the description text would be located below the title. But back on our visible web page for visitors, you can see that our description doesn't appear to them. But it is there. We can use the inspection console in any web browser to check what is contained in the head element, or indeed on any part of the page. In Safari, we right-click, select Inspect Element, and make sure we are looking at the Elements tab. Here we can see our current HTML for the page. We can see that the title and the description are present in the head element, but are not shown up on our web page for visitors. Next, we will use the meta element to specify the document's character encoding. UTF-8 is a universal character set that includes every character for all human languages. This means that the page will be able to handle display in any language. Whilst we are only using English language today, it's a good idea to set this on every web page you create so that you do not ever run into any language character problems. To do this, we will use the meta tag and add the character set UTF-8 like so. Notice how we haven't followed the name content attribute format? There are certain meta elements that have their own format. This is one of them. Luckily there are not many and we get used to using them. Finally, we will add our language to the page. This isn't strictly in the head element as it is actually written in the opening HTML tag, but this seems an apt time to talk about it. We type in lang equals engb like so. This tells our browser and any bots or software scanning our HTML that the page is written in British English. Of course, you should change this to your national language if you are writing in a different one. American English is EN/US, for example. It may seem unnecessary, but it is important to do this as standard on each page you create. It will help search engines to categorize your page more efficiently, and for those using screen readers, it will ensure your page is read correctly. Okay, that will do for our head element for now. We have covered the basics and touched on how to construct our metadata. In the next tutorial of this beginner's course, we'll go back to editing our web page and add an image. This will give us an opportunity to explore attributes in more detail. Bye for now.